Breaking news within the last few hours on the Germanwings flight crash. Investigators say the co-pilot who intentionally crashed the plane also altered altitude settings earlier that day on another flight while the pilot was outside the cockpit. With more on this, we're joined by WSJ aerospace reporter Robert Wall. He's in London. Robert, thanks for being there.
Yeah, hi. As you point out, this is kind of the most interesting development that came out of the interim report that the French air accident investigators issued today. This detail that on the flight that was from Düsseldorf to Barcelona that morning, when, as you point out, the pilot stepped outside, the co-pilot, Andreas Lubitz, also played with the altitude settings.
Now, he played with them in quite dramatic ways, didn't he? According to the story I have here, it says as low as 100 feet and as high as 49,000 feet. Why would he make it so different?
You know, it's really difficult to say, to try to guess what was going through this man's mind. But I remember that on the later flight that actually did crash, he also input a 100-foot setting. So he may have just been trying to see what happened, what would happen, and how it could be done. And let's also remember that investigators, not prosecutors, have found evidence that he had planned this action in the previous days. You remember he did internet searches on cockpit doors and other details, so he may have just been trying to figure out how this would best be done.
And the cockpit doors, as we know, are very sturdy, not really breakable through, and the airlines are changing or considering changing some of the rules about that to have another member of the crew in there with the pilot when a co-pilot goes to the bathroom for some moment. Now, this corroborates what we already know, and that's really its value. And this comes from how do we know this information?
Well, it's a combination of data points here. So the information on the previous flight we get from one of the black boxes that recorded information on that flight as well. Plus there is some air traffic control data that they were able to analyze. And then, as you point out, we also have learned a bit more detail about the efforts that were being made by presumably the pilot to re-enter the cockpit on the crashed flight. There was an effort to buzz in, through these secure doors, and also several efforts to hail, to reach him on an intercom. And all those efforts were, of course, rejected by Mr. Lubitz. So it's a combination of data points, flight data recorders, cockpit voice recorders. You know, these accident investigations are always a puzzle, and that's really what they're doing, putting them together.
Okay.
Pieces, yeah.
You've been all over this, and I'm sure there'll be much more to come. Thank you very much, Robert Wall, our aerospace reporter in London.